to the circuit for the first 60-minute qualifying session for Sunday's Australian Grand Prix. They have set up their cars this morning. They have found how the fuel consumption goes. They have got the suspension right. They have got the handling right. And now, for 60 minutes, they are going to be going for that all-important pole position, which matters to them because they will have a clear circuit if you are on the first place in the grid.
Most of the cars you see have got brand new tyres on. You can see the labels going around there in circles. Those white patches that you see signify that the tyres are brand new. They'll be breaking them in because the newer the tyre, the faster the performance after it has a couple of laps to heat up. So you can see the pits here are loaded with people. The excitement in this first day of qualifying here in Adelaide is certainly, the air is just ready for performance. Alan Prost, many say the master at going faster, and there's a slower car being pushed away there as Alan weaves his way through. He hasn't really stood on it yet. You're not seeing, oops, it is, and there's a spin out right there. Just clipped that curb, was sent out of control, luckily held it without hitting anything.
Just shows how easy it is to do as Alain Prost goes on his way, pursued by one of the two West cars. It's that of Piercarlo Ghinzani, the Zach Speed, with a turbocharged engine. Now, this is a big problem for Ivan Capelli. His car has broken down for whatever reason, and this 60 minutes is absolutely vital to him.
And you see him taking his seat out. We've got a damaged car there. It looks like a blue...
It's Berger. It's Berger's rear wing.
It is.
Gerhard Berger's rear wing off the Ferrari.
Now, where is the rest of the car, I have to ask?
There it is.
It looks like it's either spun and the rear end's knocked against the wall, or it's fallen off. Now, he just left the pits a lap ago. It could be that during the lull that hasn't been put on in the appropriate fashion. If he's hit something, he's done it in a very clean fashion because he hasn't touched any of the wheels, it would see. Now, that is the seat that you can see even Capelli carrying with him, the back of his seat, so that he can run back and get into his spare car. He needs his seat to do that.
As Andrea De Cesaris rejoins the circuit, having spun the Real, Alain Prost is fastest, and Stefan Johansson is in the gravel, in the Ligier, and a wheel off. The left rear wheel is very extended. That's the widest Ligier I've ever seen, and there's the reason why he has hit the Minardi of Sala, the Spanish driver, the ex-Formula 3000 driver, and it is a very, very bent motor car.
Because those are carbon fibre, composite carbon fibre noses on those cars that take an enormous bang. He's damaged his front suspension as well as the monocoque of his car, and I think that could be the end of that for him. Certainly the end of that motor car for this weekend, potentially, as Johansson walks back.
Very languidly, too. I would be running as fast as I possibly can to get out of the way, and the white flag is being waved now.
And the red flag has been shown. They're stopping practice so that they can clear up the debris here, as Child Boy, as they call him, or Boy Child sometimes, because he's such a young, baby-faced chap. Now, this discussion is clearly taking place here, and it looks like Stefan Johansson is either making excuses or asking what was happening.
As he walks in with Luis Perez Sala, the very amiable Spaniard, with whom I think Stefan Johansson isn't feeling so amiable at the moment. They're linking up the tow hook now, and the Minardi will be pulled off the track. Now, I hate to ascribe fault when I don't really know exactly what the circumstances are, but it would seem to me rather more likely that it was Sala's fault than it was Johansson's fault. But whoever was at fault, it means that the practice has been stopped.
But this practice, of course, the time will be put on. They're not losing valuable minutes as he takes his seat back to put it into the backup car.
Well, there's been hiccups here already in the first qualifying session, and I guess, Jackie, this is where the mechanics really start to earn their money.
Yes, I think these racing mechanics, they're so used to having to do things very very fast. They've got to do it very quickly. They've only got a matter of an hour and a half to put things together, to change gear ratios, to change suspension units, sometimes to repair damage. They're really experts at it. They've been trained. This is the end of the season for them. They're a little tired because they've had a full year of racing, but certainly they're up to it, and that's the type of work that they've really been born into.
Okay, let's go back to the track and see what's in store for us in the rest of the qualifying session.
And Ayrton Senna will shortly be joining the circuit to start his practicing to establish a time for the grid. Look for the red and white McLaren with the man in the yellow helmet. There he is in the background. He's just being held up to enable the officials to check that he has the right tyres on. Each driver is only allowed 2 sets of tyres for this 60-minute qualifying session, and in order to ensure that not more than 2 sets are used, each of the 8 tyres are marked in a special paint with the driver's race number, and he has to stop at the pit lane exit to enable the officials to check. And Alan Jones has news for us from the pit lane.
I'm down in the pits with Stefan Johansson. Stefan, what happened?
Well, I came out of the pit, going into the first corner, and got hit from behind in a very hard impact by Sala.
Okay, well, you're okay. You've got a spare car. There's some qualifying left, so you'll be back in it, I guess.
Yeah, I'll be out in a few minutes.
Good on you. Best of luck. Back to you, Jackie and Murray.
Ayrton Senna. This is 1988's most successful driver, the world champion-elect, Ayrton Senna, in the Honda-powered McLaren. 20 minutes of practice completed, 40 minutes to go in this qualifying session. The first one, Alain Prost is fastest so far, 1 minute 18.766. Senna is second, Boutsen is third, Cathy is fourth, Nigel Mansell is fifth, and Derek Warwick is sixth. And Mansell looks to me as though he is trying very hard now. In fact, he's gone up to fourth fastest. Modena lets him through. Mansell shouldn't have lost time there.
Well, he would lose a little bit of time because he wasn't able to use the full width of the road. He had to go in a relatively tight line. So if you ask Nigel at the end of this lap, there is one corner that it could have cost him a wee bit of time. But you're right, he's definitely on it. Let's see how close he works the curbs. There's a yellow flag, a stationary yellow flag out there as he passes one of the Tyrrells and accelerates along.
Julian Bailey, a man who will desperately be trying to get into the top 26 because he has failed to qualify, I think, 8 times this year. Ken Tyrrell will admit that the 1988 Tyrrell is far from the best 3.5 litre car, and Julian Bailey has been really struggling. Mansell, but look at the way Raphael is closing up on the Williams.
No, Nigel's backed off. He's backed off. He's in a slow lap, and quite frankly, he's ruining the lap also for Raphael by his manner. Raphael would have moved over and let him through, but maybe Nigel's going for a quick one now. He didn't want to let Raphael through, and now we've got a turbo blowback. That was Eddie Cheevers, and he's in trouble. That engine has already switched off. His wrist went up there. He's got a turbo fire. That's oil going through into the turbo itself, causing that flame. Fuel does not normally burn like that, and now he's switched it off, it would appear.
And it's the second time today that that's happened to Cheever. He retired in a rather disgruntled fashion in this morning's 1.5-hour free session when he had to pull his car in with smoke pouring out of the back. The Megatron engine does not seem to like it here at Adelaide.
And I'm afraid there's a reasonable chance that he could be dropping oil on the course, and I think you might be able to see a trace of that. There is oil flags being waved. He went past, and there he's pulled off now, but I fear that he may have ruined a couple of corners. Of course, it's not his fault. He doesn't know that. He's trying to get back to the pits, however. The whole answer here is for him. And look, there's Nigel saying to me, you're dropping oil. That's the signal he's been given. And look at the Cheever's hand in the air saying, I don't know, it's not my fault. But he is driving round. Yes,
it is his fault, Jackie. He's an experienced Grand Prix driver. Eddie Cheever must know as well as anybody that if he's blown a turbo, he's likely to be laying oil. It would appear to me, and I'm not a driver, that Mansell was entirely justified in getting a bit aerated about that.
No, you're absolutely correct. You are absolutely right. He's done 170 Grand Prix in total. He's a very experienced driver, but he's being a little selfish here. because what he's doing is apologizing now, but he's dropped all that oil, which is much too late, and it may ruin the entire practice for everybody else in this qualifying.
Yes, the man least likely to succeed here today, I think, in the estimation of his fellow drivers, Eddie Cheever.
And it looks like he hasn't even got back to the start-finishing line. He's pulled off the track. So I think we could have a situation here. All of the other cars are going very slowly. They're coming in, so that tells you, and look, Eddie's out of it.
I wonder if Eddie is still in a pretty foul humour after this morning. He had an altercation with a marshal when he was walking away from the track this morning, and there are certainly signs that there is an oil slick.
But the session hasn't been stopped officially, so the drivers have decided, as René Arnoux brings his car very slowly.
De Cesaris in the Real, Andrea De Cesaris, the Italian, in the Real, which appears to have broken again. And I'm afraid he's another man who's not going to be very popular. I don't know whether whatever happened could be put at his door. And Alain Prost holds the pole position at the moment, with Ayrton Senna second, Nelson Piquet third, Caffey a brilliant fourth ahead of Nigel Mansell fifth, Derek Warwick sixth.
Certainly hope you're enjoying the first day of qualifying. It's a beauty so far. Alain Prost to this point is in front. Can he stay in front? With all the answers, Murray Walker and of course Jackie Stewart.
32 minutes completed as Gerhard Berger in this 60-minute first qualifying session for the Australian Grand Prix builds up speed. This will not be a particularly fast lap. His next, or the one after, certainly should be.
I think we can comfortably say that most of this practice and qualifying has been wiped out by the oil laid down. And it will take more than just a few cars to dry it out. It needs a lot of cars and a lot of rubber going over that oil to really get it away from the top of the surface. So unless a few of the boys get out there, it's only going to stay around. Nigel Mansell, however, is pulling out of the pit lane, as also is Nakajima, so there are more cars coming on track.
And earlier on, we spoke to Gerhard Berger about how he approaches the qualifying sessions. Here's what he said.
Qualifying, yeah. Okay, on Friday it will be more slippery because not enough rubber is down, especially in straight circuits. The Saturday will be quicker. So maybe you risk a little bit more on Saturday afternoon than on Friday, because you know anyway the next day will be quicker. But generally you go the same way.
Well, Gerhard won't be taking a lot of risks today, I'm quite sure. As he rightly points out, he's got an hour tomorrow, provided, of course, and this is always the worry, that the weather on Saturday is not such that the circuit is wet. This is the man who took fourth position on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix, who momentarily led the Japanese Grand Prix, having passed Ayrton Senna, having brilliantly passed Alain Prost, who promptly wound the boost up again and retook the lead. But even Capelli is the only man in the last 4 years to have led a Grand Prix in a normally aspirated engined car. You are looking at a possible winner of Sunday's Australian Grand Prix. If anybody can beat the McLarens, Capelli is the man. As Alain Prost comes out, fastest man so far, and we are 40 minutes into practice. 2/3 of the first qualifying session have been completed. Tyre check. Prost just slows up to let the officials check that his race numbers are on his set of qualifying tyres. Tyres for qualifying would be a better way to describe it. They are not special qualifying tyres. While all this has been going on, quietly into third place has come Nelson Piquet, who is just about to go out on the track again to try and improve that time. And that is very interesting, because Piquet in the Lotus Honda frankly has not shone in either race terms or qualifying terms for some time. Maybe he's having a go, and Mansell certainly is. Loses it. Mansell loses the back, goes over the curbing, and that won't have done his time any good, and probably his mental well-being any good. Do you get time to think of anything, Jackie, when you're going across the curbs like that?
Yeah, there's the odd word that is mentioned in yourself, and here he comes again. You can see him. He was unstable going in there. He put the car in, the back end went out. He corrected it, but there was no room left. He took off completely over that curb, went right over the gravel pit and rejoined safely. But when the car turned in, he seemed to just chuck it in a little bit too late, and the back end came out. And he did try to collect it, but the car has been quite squeamish all year, and he's always been complaining about the car darting here and darting there, as if the car is very nervous and highly strung.
Gerhard Berger goes out to try to improve his time. Nigel Mansell has just done so and is third fastest with 15 minutes to go. And the man who has just spun off is Philippe Alliot in the Lola. But Mansell's time of 1 minute 20.5 is, as we have got quite used to, nearly 2 seconds slower than Alain Prost's pole time so far. There is Alliot, stationary on the course, trying to find an opportunity to spin his car round without getting in somebody's way. That's on the S's, the exit from the start and finish straight. You see his problem. He wants to reverse, I think, but he knows jolly well if he does so, somebody's going to harpoon him. Piquet, fourth on the grid now because he has been displaced by Nigel Mansell, and Piquet is certainly on his way. This is a very, very hard trying Nelson Piquet, who has been recently accused of lacking motivation. Well, he's slowing up now. He's lost his rhythm.
He lost it on that curb. The car went over the curb and he lost it there, and he thought no point in continuing on that lap because I'm not going to be able to do it. He probably cost himself a second on that one corner.
So, Prost number 1 for the moment. Senna number 2 as De Cesaris loses the Real.
Okay, you're back with the track side for the all-important qualifying session. It's a beauty so far. Let's go back to our commentators, Murray Walker and Jackie Stewart.
Now, is this going to be a quick lap for Nigel Mansell? He goes over the line now. And we should see a time change on the monitor very rapidly. 1 minute 20.6 was Nigel Mansell's time. We're still waiting for it to come up. And he's still going very quickly indeed.
This will be his effort, I think. I think you're about to see it now. Let's have a look and see what he does here. He's on it. This is his third lap, and he's got 3 cars ahead of him here. It depends how easily he gets past them as to whether he gets a fast lap or not, and there's a yellow flag out.
And it's Arnoux in front of him in the Ligier. It's Raphael in front of him in the Lola. It is Berger in front of him in the Ferrari. Mansell passes Raphael. Now he's got to take Arnoux and Berger, but I think Nigel will probably be giving it best. He has got the race driver's horror, traffic. In the last 5 minutes of the session, the things start to happen, and that's one of them. Streff's AGS catching fire in the background and very rapidly being put out by some very efficient fire marshals here at Adelaide. But it's in the last 5, and Thierry Boutsen has stopped his Benetton by the side of the circuit. There's a wave from René Arnoux, pass me on the right. Nigel Mansell needs no second invitation. It's still Prost fastest, Senna second fastest, Mansell is fourth behind Piquet, and there are 7 minutes to go. Are the McLarens going to come out in this last 5 minutes, or are they going to rest on their laurels? It would be very unusual if they did, and the answer is no, because Prost is on the circuit now. Alain Prost is out and Senna is out. This is going to be it in the last 5 minutes of practice. Senna and Prost are going to be fighting for pole position, of which Senna has 12 already this season. And Stefano Modena has spun to a standstill in his Eurobroom. Over the curb.
He really got the car in the air there. That was a very unpleasant bang. The underneath of that car will certainly, in my opinion, be damaged. So that's the end of his practice and qualifying today in any case, but the mechanics will have to go over that well.
And with 1.5 minutes to go, and Nelson Piquet, the reigning world champion, in the pit lane, they're talking to Steve Hallam, the man in the dark glasses, who is his race engineer. Alain Prost holds the pole position, but can this man, Ayrton Senna, who has not once but many times in the past put up the fastest lap and crossed the line as the flag went out to finish the session, and he's still got time, but no, he doesn't look as though he's going quickly to me, and Senna is in pole position. Senna has just done it. Senna has gone round in 1 minute 18.33. The crafty Brazilian, and that's the right word to use to describe him, has taken pole position with a matter of seconds to go. 1 minute is less than, considerably less than a minute to go, and Ayrton Senna has taken pole position on his 17th lap. There is Prost behind him. The gap between them is 2/100ths of a second. That's all there is, with Mansell third, Patrese fourth, Berger fifth, Warwick sixth, and Piquet down to 7th place.
It's a little bit like Piccadilly Circus out there. If Alain Prost gets back to the start-finishing line, and he's not far from it now, he may get one more try at this, one more lap, and if he's got a clear road at all, he's in a position to do it. He's only got 10 seconds to get there, but he'll make it.
Yes,
He's accelerating along now to the start-finishing line. He's on the last lap of the day, I suspect, and the checkered flag is out, but Alain Prost is on a hot lap. He could still do it if he's got a clear road ahead of him.
He's done it! He's done it! Alain Prost has just this second gone into pole position. 1 minute 18.179. He has given Ayrton Senna a dose of his own medicine. So the first 60-minute qualifying session is over, with Alain Prost holding the provisional pole time ahead of his teammate Ayrton Senna. Nigel Mansell, the leading 3.5-litre car driver. Patrese fourth, Gerhard Berger in 5th position in the Ferrari, and Derek Warwick in 6th place. Alessandro Nannini 7th, and Nelson Piquet 8th. Alex Caffey in 9th position in the Dallara. Alboreto 10th in the Ferrari, Boutsen in 11th place in the Benetton, and in 12th position, Ivan Capelli in the March. And down there in the pit lane, Alan Jones is with the man with the fastest time.
Alain Prost, congratulations, pole position for today.
Yeah, it's very good. And the championship is very difficult. We had a lot of pressure. Now we can enjoy a little bit more, and today was very good work on the track. Pushed very hard to get the pole. It was very difficult because of the traffic. The track was also oily on one stage, and improving at the end. So it was, well, I had to be there at the right moment. That's what I've done.
Normally Ayrton waits for the last minute and goes out and knocks you off, and now you've done it to him. How does it feel?
I feel good, but I must say that I could have been, I think, just a little bit quicker. The traffic at the end, but I think it was the same for everybody, and it's difficult to get a clear lap. I'm very pleased. I mean, it was a nice fight today again. I mean, if we're talking only about sport, that was a good day for both of us.
Well, you couldn't have hoped for a more action-packed drama first qualifying session. It really did have everything. And I guess there'll be plenty of post-mortems in the pits tonight, Jackie.
Well, I think so, because there's been a lot of incidents out there. Historically, this racetrack has produced a lot of spins and collisions. In fact, 31 cars spun out, 2 hit the wall, and 2 cars collided. That's one story as far as I'm concerned. It means that the racetrack is still very dirty. They've got to clean it up. The groove will be cleaned tomorrow. I think we can expect to see even faster qualifying tomorrow. The other thing, I think it again shows the dominance of McLaren. They do a lot of testing and a lot of development, more than any other team. I just worked out that they do 20,000 kilometers a year testing this year so far. Now, considering race kilometers alone, that's only 5,000 kilometers. It means to say that they're multiplying by 4 their race distance just in testing. So the fact that they're first and second on the grid isn't entirely surprising.
Jackie, what about the Eddie Cheever incident? That was almost unforgivable for a man with all that experience, all that oil going over the track.
Well, I think if we saw it on our screens, we saw Nigel Mansell getting very annoyed with Eddie, trying to tell him, for goodness sake, stop or drive off the groove because you're leaving a great trace of oil. He was trying to drive the car back to the pits. He never even got that far. I should think he ran out of oil before getting there. But clearly the rest of the drivers were very upset with him, and I think Eddie should have known better.
Okay, Jackie, Prost just a little bit faster than Senna. It's going to be a beauty tomorrow.
Yes, but I think Senna will be trying very hard just for his own ego, for his own reputation, to put it on the pole. So tomorrow's qualifying, I think you're going to see very exciting racing.
Senna is the world champion. He will be totally relaxed. Alain Prost will be out to keep the pole position that he won yesterday. Nigel Mansell, third fastest yesterday, and there is Riccardo Patrese going out. He's fourth fastest after yesterday's 60-minute session, and getting pole position or a front rank position is absolutely crucial in Grand Prix racing.
Particularly on a road course like this one in Adelaide, because it's a tight course, particularly the early part of the lap where there's a lot of tight corners. If you're on the front row of the grid and the turbocharged engine is more difficult to do a standing start on than a normally aspirated engine, then one of those normally aspirated Williams cars or Capelli could certainly snatch the lead if they were up in the front row. They're a little bit heavier, of course, at the beginning of a race, but the chances are they could get far enough ahead to keep ahead on this long Brabham straight that we'll be seeing as we're looking down from our helicopter at this beautiful racetrack under very warm conditions. It's about 36 degrees here today, almost too hot for the best engine performance.
Yes, surprisingly, although the cars have now had 4 hours of practice in which to set themselves up for this vital last qualification, they might even go slower than yesterday, because today is a lot hotter than it was yesterday, and that adversely affects the performance of their engines. Now, there is one of the Minardis being passed by Riccardo Patrese. What will happen, bearing in mind that these cars and each driver has 2 sets of tyres that he can use during this qualifying period. Each of those sets of tyres are marked with his race number to ensure that only 2 sets are used. And what normally happens, and Riccardo Patrese is doing just that now, is that they go out having got their settings right after this morning's 1.5-hour session to check that everything is right. They'll try and put up a fast time, and then later on in the afternoon, in this 1-hour session, they'll go out on the second set, and they will hope, as Patrese has now, that they will have a clear circuit. One of the problems at Adelaide is that 26 cars on this street circuit can create a lot of traffic, and getting through it can slow you down. So we will probably have a quick time at the beginning of the session, and hopefully even faster at the end.
One of the drivers, Patrese, who I have never felt to be ready to hit the real big time. I mean, of course, to get into Grand Prix racing is big time, but to be a world champion, I never suspected Patrese would ever reach those dizzy heights. He's a good workman-like driver, but he's someone who I've never thought likely to go and win a string of Grand Prix victories. In fact, I was somewhat surprised when Frank Williams kept him for 1989 in preference to perhaps a few other available drivers in the field.
Yes, this is really the first time that Riccardo Patrese has been in a potential winning team. He's driven during his career in 175 Grand Prix already. On Sunday, he will top the record list with Graham Hill and Jack Lafitte on 176 Grand Prix, and in that time he has only scored 86 points, but I think he's got a lot of driving left in him. At the present moment, he is 4th on the grid, He's just gone round in 2.5 minutes, which is a long, long way off pace, of course, because he's speeding up. But now he really is accelerating as he goes past Market Turn, on towards Stag Turn. There he's through it now, down towards Brewery Bend. Now he's doing about 160 miles an hour as you look at him, round the right-hander. Now he is approaching the fastest part of the course. He's on Brabham Straight in 6th gear, 180 miles an hour before he throws out the anchors, goes down through the gears, into 2nd gear, into the right-hander at Racetrack Hairpin. Now up into 3rd gear, bearing left onto Paddock Turn. Paddock Turn leads onto Foster's Hairpin. Patrese is going now to try and beat his 1 minute 19.925. He's got down to 124. This lap should be quicker. We'll know in just a few seconds because Patrese is exiting now. You can see the time on the monitor there, 121.99, and that is exactly 2 seconds off his fastest pace.
And he's still on it, Murray. He's still trying for a fast lap. If we were to get a clear lap on this one, I think it would even be faster. Look how there is hardly any suspension on that car. Look at the driver's helmet being joggled around. Very tough on the neck muscles, very tiring indeed. There's no suspension movement in that car at all. It's almost on the ground all the time. And the Williams car has been famous over the years for sparks flying out of it. Comment on, he does use less road, and we've got a spin out.
It is Philippe Alliot in the Lola. He's gone off. The Frenchman is a bit unpredictable. When he's fast, he's very fast, but sometimes he's too fast, and at the S's there, he has slid off, and I would not be at all surprised to see practice stopped because his car will be in what will be judged to be a dangerous position. He leaps over the curb, lands on the gravel, and there is no way he is now going to move.
Now, when he lost control of that car, it was the rear end of the car that lost. The back end went out. There was no way he was going to collect it in time, and he went sideways over those curves. Now, this is the risk of those curves. Fortunately, those cars are extremely well balanced, and when they come down very solidly and surely. Now, he's taking the seat out of his car because he's going to go back to the pits. There is the cushion underneath the back support that he carries. There is a spare car for him, so Philippe Alliot will now jog back to the pits and get back into the spare car.
Watch this man in front, Gerhard Berger, the man who won last year's Australian Grand Prix, last year's Japanese Grand Prix, this year's Italian Grand Prix, to the delight of thousands and thousands of passionately devoted tifosi, the men who follow Ferrari in Italy. Gerhard Berger comes from Austria. He is 5th fastest at the present moment. One man amongst the top drivers has gone faster. Thierry Boutsen has circulated faster than he did yesterday. He is in 11th place on the grid. But now, with 7 minutes out of 60 completed, Prost is leading. Senna is 2nd. Mansell is 3rd. Patrese, his teammate, is 4th. Berger, the man you are looking at, is 5th. And Derek Warwick in the turbocharged Arrows is 6th. But watch Gerhard Berger. They have a problem in the race, Ferrari, and their problem is fuel consumption. I think Berger's got a problem. He is misfiring. He had a big problem in practice yesterday and spent most of the first session in the pits.
And he spent a lot of time in the pits this morning. He's been going very gently, and this is a slow lap for him. He's really cruising. The misfiring engine generally nowadays is put down to electronics. The electronic management system is quite a problem.
And so there is Gerhard Berger, and we will be back after this. Wide world of sports, and you've arrived at just the psychological moment, because there, going out onto the track for the first time this afternoon, is Ayrton Senna, the man who has achieved pole position 12 times in 15 races this year, and he will want to make it 13 out of 16. He is in 2nd place on the grid at the present moment, with his teammate Alain Prost ahead of him. And at the moment, with 11 out of the 60 minutes of this final qualifying period completed, only 5 men have gone faster than they went yesterday. The highest of those is Thierry Boutsen, who is in 11th place. and it could well be that yesterday's times will be faster than today's when the final hour is completed because of the heat problem. It is very hot here in Adelaide, and that adversely affects the performances of the cars. But at the moment, Prost, as a result of yesterday's time, is still fastest. He has yet to go out on the circuit. Senna is on the circuit on his warm-up lap. Warm-up in his terms, electrifyingly fast in anybody else's. And probably 2 or 3 laps from now, he will be making his fast time, and that is Philippe Alliot, the man that we saw spin out earlier on. He has walked back to his pit with the seat, put it in the spare car, he's ready to go again, and Senna is going. Watch him.
He's still going to be scrubbing off these labels that you see, the white labels that you see going round on his tyres to say that they're brand new tyres, so he'll take a little bit of time to warm them up. When you warm tyres up, you don't go out and drive the tyre as hard and as aggressively to begin with as you could do, because you want to build the temperatures up gently and progressively, therefore not damaging the construction of the compound. If you abuse it too quickly, you can make the tyre really break itself down too soon. So Ayrton Senna, of course, is a great expert at doing this, and he will take about 3 laps to get up to his potential high-speed lap, and then we will see the heather burn.
Every tyre on every car here at Adelaide, as in every Grand Prix this year, is a Goodyear, and they have produced for this race a special rear construction and a revised compound to suit this demanding street circuit. Ayrton Senna is the man who will make the most of that new tyre and the new compound as well. This is the man who, until this year, drove for the Lotus team. Before that, he drove for 1 season with Tolman, and now this surely will be his fast lap. Let's watch him as he goes into the S's. Yes, you can see from the way he's bouncing off the curves, cutting the apex right to the absolute minimum, accelerating away up to the right-hander at Wakefield Turn. Now, you may wonder how Ayrton Senna approaches the second qualifying session. Let him tell us.
It depends when the pole is clearly going to be set on the second qualifying, because the circuit is in a better situation than the first day, and the car is in a better condition than the first day. Then more pressure, and you got to try to keep everything low level in your mind and make sure you have the best understanding as possible to what time to go out and how hard to push at each corner that you face with, or a back marker, or a tire performance or an engine performance, many things. You just have to be as clear-minded as possible. That's the basic thing.
No one would ever accuse Ayrton Senna of being anything other than clear-minded, and now he is approaching the end of a very quick lap. Whether it will be quick enough to take pole position from his teammate and friend Alain Prost, we will know in just a few seconds, because he's coming out of Foster's hairpin. He's crossed the line now. We're waiting for the time to come up on the monitor screen, but it remains his previous time, so it would seem that Senna, as he goes into another quick lap, is still second on the grid. Prost is leading, Senna is second, Mansell is third, Patrese is in 4th position. 16 minutes of the 60 have been completed.
When you heard the voice of Ayrton Senna speak, and he's now, by the way, backed right off, he's going very slowly indeed. Very slowly indeed. His previous lap was a 1:25.545, which was really a very slow time by his comparison. He's now backed off, whether he's going to give his tyres a little rest. But, you know, to hear that man speak so calmly, so quietly, you wonder where it all comes from when he drives this racing car at the kind of speeds that we all know he can. Certainly when that visor goes down, there's an electric shock goes off inside that cockpit, because he certainly isn't that calm while he's conducting his racing car round this incredible racetrack. But now he is certainly going very slowly indeed.
An astonishingly controlled and reserved young man, Ayrton Senna. He's now got an enormous amount of experience, of course, his third Grand Prix team, and he's quite leisurely making his way back. Watching his mirrors, I have no doubt, to keep out of the way of anybody who is on a fast lap. Now, who has improved their time since yesterday? Answer: Thierry Boutsen, who is in 11th place. Philippe Streff, who's going much better in the AGS here than he has in the recent past. There is Alain Prost. The other two are Modena and De Cesaris. 4 men have gone faster today than they went yesterday, and Alain Prost is the man who is holding pole position. He has only had 2 pole positions this year, whereas his teammate Ayrton Senna has had 12. And in his entire career, Alain Prost has had over 20 pole positions. You're looking now at Stefano Modena, the young Italian ex-Formula 3000 champion of Europe last year in the ponderous, I am sad to say, Eurobrunn, which is not nearly a good enough car for his talent. That is Oscar Larrauri, the Argentine driver, who is Modena's teammate. So the 2 Eurobrunns are on the track together, and we've had hot news today that Walter Brunn, who is the Swiss slot machine magnate owner of the Eurobrunn team, has bought the entire share capital of the Brabham team, which will be reconstituted for 1989. And now, on the 19th minute of this 60-minute session, Prost is still fastest. Senna is still second, both with yesterday's times. Mansell and Patrese in the Williams 3.5-litre cars, and the top turbos are, not top non-turbos, are 3rd and 4th. Berger in the Ferrari is only 5th. And in 6th position, it is Derek Warwick, and there is Gerhard Berger from Virgil in Austria.
Nearly lost it there. The back end got loose. I don't think his tire temperatures are up, because suddenly the car got very loose indeed, and he nearly had a little wobbly. It's very important for a driver not to lose his confidence very early when he's trying to do a fast lap, because when the car tries to get away from him, as his did, you would perhaps notice, certainly the aficionados watching that screen there would have noticed that suddenly he let the car settle down, used up extra road, and got himself round the corner. So now he'll be getting himself back in tune, so to speak, getting the pulse rate up, riding curbs as he is now.
Gerhard Berger on a quick lap. Rejoin us at Adelaide soon.
Qualifying session. We're watching Gerhard Berger right now. He's just done a lap time of 1:19.757. It's his best time to date. Prost is still the fastest. Here's Murray Walker.
Yes, back on the track. Gerhard Berger has gone round in under 1 minute 20 seconds for the first time as far as he's concerned. In so doing, he has moved up from 5th to 4th place, behind Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, McLaren, and Nigel Mansell, the Williams driver. And that is Pierre-Henri Raphanel, the Frenchman who is deputising for Yannick Dalmas. It's his first ever Grand Prix, the first time he's sat in a Grand Prix car, and he's finding it tough going. Here is Berger, the man who has moved up to 4th position, and there's a Williams bearing down on him. I think it's Nigel Mansell. Yes, it is. Nigel Mansell, who is 3rd fastest, and now Alain Prost too has emerged from the pit lane and is on the track. There he is. That is the man who is holding pole position at the moment after that lap in 1 minute 18.179 seconds yesterday. If he stays where he is, it will be only his 3rd pole position this year. Now, here is an interesting fact. The McLaren team of Prost and Senna have occupied the front row of the grid in 11 of the 15 races that have been held thus far this year. And it has time and time again been what happened between the light turning to green and reaching the first corner that decided the race. Prost has missed out on some occasions, and so has Senna. So if they're both in the front rank at the end of this 60-minute session, it could be very, very critical indeed for the start of tomorrow's race.
He's now on his 3rd lap of today, That is to say, this afternoon's 1 hour qualifying session. And again, let us just pay homage to his driving by watching how clean and unspectacular this little Frenchman is. Seldom will you see him ride curbs. Position 1, 26.8 he did in his last lap, crossing the start-finishing line and starting his 4th lap of this afternoon. Let's just watch him. Again, he cleanly went through that corner without riding the curb, exited without riding the curb. Dancing the car in again with loads of room to spare, passing a slower car, comes out again not using every inch. Throaty V6 Honda producing 650 or more horsepower. I suspect right now he would be closer to the 700 horsepower mark. Honda never will tell you what they really are doing, but at this very moment, through the amazing electronics, they will be knowing the exact temperatures of this engine, the fuel consumption of it, what revs he will be doing, whether he's flat down to the floor with the gas pedal or not. This is not a super fast time for him because he got round that corner slowly. There's a yellow flag out. He slowed down, so you're not going to see any lap record speed by Alain Prost on this lap.
25 minutes out of 60 have passed, and so far only 3 out of the top 12 men have gone faster today than they went yesterday. Gerhard Berger has moved up a place to 4th position with the only lap in under 1 minute 20 seconds so far today. Ivan Capelli has moved up to 9th position, and yesterday he was in 12th place. So he's going in the 3.5 litre march. And Thierry Boutsen is in 12th place as a result of going faster than he did yesterday. And now Prost will be speeding up again.
Alain Prost will be trying for a hot lap this time. We've got the clock running on him at the present time. He's cleared through 27 seconds around this lap so far. You can see it in your monitor. Capelli moving up is not a surprise to me. They were having suspension problems, as I said earlier in this program. They hope to have them rectified. He's got a brand new engine that's supposed to have more horsepower. The art of getting pole position and fast laps in qualifying is turning it on only when the conditions are absolutely right for it. And if they're not right, then go slowly. Keep your tire temperatures down.
Now, if the turbocharged cars cannot in general go faster today than they went yesterday, it's going to be even harder for the normally aspirated cars like that one of Nigel Mansell, who is 3rd fastest on the grid, because when the air is hotter and thinner, the turbocharged cars can compensate for it, but the normally aspirated cars cannot. So we can expect in general the normally aspirated cars, the 3.5 litre engine ones of Nigel Mansell, Patrese, Boutsen, Nannini, Capelli, Gugelmin, people like that, to be going slower than yesterday. But there is Nigel Mansell, and I wonder whether there's anything special that he does before his fast lap.
I mean, the only thing you do is you go around and have a look at the circuit and make sure no one's sort of gone offline or put any oil down, because we call it a bonsai lap. If you put a bonsai lap together, you know it's 10 tenths and maybe 11 tenths, and there's no room for error. And if someone just put a little bit of oil down in front of you, you're gone. But that's the only preparation we have.
Nigel Mansell demonstrating his command of the Japanese language, and he's been there quite a few times. But now we're almost up to half-time. 28 minutes gone, 32 minutes left to go. Alain Prost is still the fastest. Senna is still 2nd fastest. Nigel Mansell, that you are looking at, is 3rd fastest, and he is circulating roughly half a second slower than he did yesterday, and that applies to most of them, which is an indication of the fact that the conditions are in fact slower. And he's coming up now to take Larori, and he's in the way again. He's usually in the way, Oscar Larori. He's one of the men who are famous for getting in the way.
And of course Nigel Mansell told him in that gentlemanly fashion that that had happened. He raised his fist, gave him a right good shaking, and of course wrote off a Nigel Mansell potentially fast lap. Nigel again had been riding the curbs a fair bit. He's trying to see his way past some of the other cars in preparation for hopefully stitching one together when he gets back into the old racetrack round here and ready to get to the start-finishing line.
And now you see exactly what I mean by traffic. Yesterday, Nigel Mansell got out of the car and he said, the traffic is horrendous. Let's hope that it stays clear for him now. You'll know soon, because we will be back very shortly. Session to go back on the track. Nigel Mansell is driving his heart out. He's in third position on the grid, but try as he may, he cannot improve. You can see now that he has slowed down, but Alain Prost has gone round now in 1 minute 18.5, which is only 4/10 of a second off his pole position time yesterday, and the fastest lap we have had today. And Ayrton Senna's fastest lap is only 1 minute 25. In fact, Senna has gone back into the pits and Prost is still out there. There he is.
I suspect Nigel Mansell will be coming into the pits and resting his weary car, tyres and body, probably for a late attempt in about 25 minutes' time. So I think the last 10 minutes of this qualifying session is going to be where we're going to see most of the action. Alain Prost, P1 26.08. That's what he was doing, and let's see if he tries to turn one on here. But let's just watch him through here, because generally he's poetry in motion. You know, a lot of people said when he beat my record of 27 Grand Prix victories, weren't you upset, weren't you sad by it? And I said no, because for 14 years I held the record, and if someone was going to beat my record, I would want it to be a man of the caliber of Alain Prost. And if I were driving today, Murray, Alain Prost is the man that I would most like to drive like. So I'm a great admirer of the wee frog. He drives beautifully, he drives smoothly, in a calculated fashion. It's never wasted energy with Alain Prost, and that is something that I believe is terribly important, because he can nurse a car home. He incidentally got past these other cars in a very convenient fashion on Brabham Straight. You can see the clock running is past the minute stage now. As we continue up, I'm not sure that he's going to crack it this time. I rather fear not.
Yes! 1 minute 18.4. He has knocked 1/10 of a second off his previous fastest time today, but he's still 3/10 of a second off his pole position time yesterday.
Now you see what I mean by his driving. We cruised our way through that little piece of commentary there, not seeing anything spectacular, nothing really that you would have attracted a great deal of attention with. And here was a man who has undoubtedly been the fastest car on this racetrack today. Again, I say, in a non-spectacular, smooth fashion with great finesse. And that is my view of the epitome of good driving in racing cars. This could be another fast one, Murray.
Well, very quickly, as you watch Alain Prost, let me establish that only 3 men so far this afternoon have gone round the Adelaide track in under 1 minute 20 seconds. Alain Prost that you are looking at now, Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari, and the rejuvenated Riccardo Patrese in the Williams, and Riccardo's time is only 2/10 of a second slower than Berger's, but the grid order remains at the moment: Prost, Senna, Mansell, Berger, Patrese and Warwick. 1 minute 18.2, faster yet, but still 1/10 of a second off his pole position time yesterday.
And we saw from his board it read fuel, so it may be that he's getting dangerously low. He's backed off. I think you'll find that Alain Prost, and there's Anna Warner, the great lady of the McLaren team who used to time-keep for Renault. She's a great lady. She's been time-keeping in the old traditional stopwatch fashion now for a great many years. McLaren still feels she's vital to them. If there was an electrical or power failure, then Annie would still have everything on her records, which is much more important than anything else.
Now things could really come to life, because here is the man, Ayrton Senna. 12 pole positions this year, 8 Grand Prix victories this year, World champion-elect. He will become world champion on January the 1st, 1989, and he nearly lost it there. Lost time. That is very spectacular, but in fact, it is not the best driving, because he's losing time as he slides.
And in fact, he recognised it, so he's backed off. That little bit of over-exuberance is something that still comes into Ayrton Senna's driving, which frankly does not appear to Alan Prost's performance. Let's watch him here. He goes round here, still putting the power on. You see the bumps, little or no suspension in those cars. Then the back end flicks out. Look at the tyre marks on the road. Then it flicks out again. Now the same thing's happening with all that power down. That is a wasted time and a wasted set of tyres, because the tyre temperature, because the wheels were spinning during that slide, the temperatures have probably gone up by 20 to 30 degrees because of the incredible 680 horsepower that he would be putting into his rear tyres.
And while Ayrton Senna is struggling with all his might and main to get to the very front, 4 men are struggling to get into this race. There are 30 men on the circuit. Only 26 of them will qualify for tomorrow's race. And at the present moment, Stefan Johansson is 27, and he is 6/10 of a second off getting into the race. René Arnoux, his teammate in the Ligier, is 28. So both the Ligiers look like failing to qualify at the moment. The unfortunate Julian Bailey, who has failed to qualify 9 times already this year, at the moment looks as though he's going to make it 10. And Ben Schneider, the German ex-Formula, and at the present moment we have 22 minutes to go. Senna bobs out from behind the slipstream of Ben Schneider, so you've got the 2nd and the 30th fastest on the circuit together, but not for long, because watch Senna draw away. His target time is 1 minute 18.179, Prost's pole position time.
This is a fast lap. This is a quick one. Watch for it.
So near, but yet so far, and significantly, that is Senna's fastest time, but it is still slower than Prost's fastest time today, and of course, slower than Prost's pole position time, which he put up yesterday. Join us back again to see the conclusion of practice very shortly. Adelaide. That is the crumpled remains of Alessandro Nannini's Benetton Ford. He went into the wall very hard indeed on the Victoria Park section of the course. I'm glad to tell you that he's got out of the car, he's undone his safety belts, levered himself out, and casually walked away as though absolutely nothing had happened. But my goodness, something happened in a very big way.
And the car you see screeching round there holds Professor Watkins, a neurosurgeon who comes from the London hospital when any incident occurs on the track. Frank Gardner, that great philosopher racing driver from Australia, goes round with Professor Watkins and an assistant in that vehicle to see if any help is required. And the corner workers must have said that there was heavy contact made with the wall, potential driver injury, and the good professor, who's flown over specially for this race, is heading towards that car. Now, the impact of that accident is much greater than you think. The composite carbon fibre construction of the monocoque of those cars, or the chassis of those cars, takes tremendous impact. And you would look, if we saw slightly left of that wall from our camera position here, you would see that the car struck heavily with the front wheel to begin with, and you can see the tyre marks on the road surface there. Slightly further to the left, you will see that it crashed straight into the wall itself. The driver's feet are protected because the new regulations, and this is part of the accident that you're looking at, the tyre marks on the road, the signature of a racing driver. There the good professor arrives on the scene, and the cupboard is bare. Nobody to really complain about there, but you'll see the tyre mark just on the left-hand side of your monitor, that black tyre mark on the wall. That's where the car first got contact. Now, the new regulations for this year state that the driver's feet must be behind the front axle, and there is that very heavy black mark, just as you see to the left of the fire extinguisher. that contact would probably be at no less than 160 kilometers per hour, the actual contact with the road. And yet, the deformable structure of that vehicle has stopped the driver from being injured. And the fact that his feet are behind the front axle line means that they're not sticking out in a vulnerable position for injury. And this is something that FISA, the governing body of motorsport, made sure of with the writing of their new regulations.
Yes, it is a testimony to the astonishing strength of the modern racing carbon fibre chassis that Nannini, after an enormous thump like that, was able to get out of the car and walk back. And I suspect that if Sid Watkins had been just a little earlier, he would have been able to give Alessandro a lift back to the pits. But he's walked back under his own steam, and with practice, of course, having been stopped, there's no way you could carry on with a hazard like that sticking out on the course. There is the indomitable and very, very fast little Italian, Alex Cappi, number 36, in the arrows. Fourth out, Nelson Piquet, the reigning world champion, Lotus Honda. Fifth out, Eddie Cheever in the arrows. Sixth out, Capelli, the Italian, in the March Judd. Next is Luis Sala, the Spaniard. No, it's Martini. Then behind Martini is Nakajima in the second of the Lotus, the only Japanese driver. Belgian Thierry Boutsen in the Benetton, 3.5 litre, Ford powered. Ginzani in the Zaxby, the Italian, his last drive for the team. Maurizio Gugelmin, the Brazilian, in the March. That is Rene Arnoux, the oldest man in the race in the Ligier. Here comes Luis Sala in the Minardi. Jonathan Palmer, Dr. Jonathan Palmer in the 3.5 litre Tyrrell. The Swedish driver, Stefan Johansson in the second Tyrrell. Oscar Larrauri, the Argentinian, in the Eurobrun. And that, for the moment, is it. But Gabriele Tarquini, in the only Coloni in the race, who has actually gone extremely well in practice. He is 25th and in the running. Now, from now on, there are 19 minutes for Senna to try to get pole position from Prost, and most importantly, as Prost goes out now, Johansson, Arnoux, Bailey and Schneider have not yet qualified, and they will be trying desperately to do so. Ayrton Senna now going out. There is Prost. The next one to emerge from the pit lane after Prost, who is on a new set of tyres. There's the distinctive telltale that we always draw your attention to, the white labels on the tyres, which will be scuffed off very rapidly. Ayrton Senna, McLaren Honda, and he is currently 1/10 of a second slower than Alain Prost on today's times, 2/10 of a second slower on yesterday's times. And at the present moment, Prost is in pole position on his Friday afternoon time. The track conditions are slower today because of the heat, much hotter today than it was yesterday. And now, with 16 minutes to go, grid order is Prost first, Senna second, Mansell third, and top Normally aspirated engine driver, Berger in the Ferrari fourth, Patrese in the second Williams fifth, Warwick is sixth, Nannini is seventh, Piquet is eighth, Boutsen is ninth, and Capelli is 10th.
Ayrton Senna, and that is Riccardo Patrese sitting in his Williams with the Judd engine. And there's an engine.
Oh dear, that's the Zaxby gone west with Ginzani at the wheel, and that I think will probably be the end of his practice.
Now oil may well be dropping on the track, and you may well have seen the end, and it has been dropping. I could see the trail as he finally came in there, the fire marshals, and there are many of them around this very well run and organized racetrack. They are making sure that there is no flame to worry about. It's right at the very pass, just past Brabham Straight, just past the racetrack hairpin. Ginzani, I don't think will be able to get back in time to get out on a spare car for that team. So I think it could be that he'll have to be settling with whatever time he's got, which will not please him. The car is well out of the way, so it's not a hazard. I don't think there's any risk of them stopping practice for that, but it could be that he's spoiled the surface of the racetrack with his oil. We'll remain to have a look at that.
Yes, in fairness to Ginzani, Jackie, he did get off the circuit as fast as he possibly could, in contrast to Eddie Cheever, who did nearly a full lap yesterday in similar conditions.
No, he did exactly the right thing. He saw the smoke. He obviously felt whatever let go as we see one of our Williams, and that's the car of Nigel Mansell, passing a fairly slow Ayrton Senna at the present time. Mansell's in a quick one.
My goodness, he is. Nigel Mansell really throwing the 3.5 litre Williams about. This is the last time that Nigel Mansell will practice in a Williams car, because after tomorrow's Australian Grand Prix, he becomes a Ferrari driver, dependent on exactly when his contract runs out. But anyway, next year he is a Ferrari driver. This is his last practice in a Williams. He will be extremely anxious as ever to do well. And don't forget that already this season, Nigel Mansell has been second on the grid on 2 occasions. The first Grand Prix of the year in Brazil and the 10th Grand Prix of the year in Hungary. He could do it again, possibly. He's going very quick indeed now, and in order to get to second on the grid, he's got to beat Ayrton Senna's time of 1 minute 18.3. I don't think Mansell can do it.
One of the March cars in front of him. We'll see how easily he gets past him. If the March driver sees him, he will probably move over. Nigel's definitely on it, trying for a quick one, using the curb on the exit there, building up to his position now, entering Brabham Straight. Full chat, look at him using that curb again, very high on that curb.
It is Capelli in front of him.
And one other car in front of Capelli. This is all what it takes to get a quick lap in. If he were just to be able to get through without being slowed up in any way, he can do it. But Capelli, he's going to catch Capelli. Depends how he gets through. Oh, and very slow car, but he's got through that one nicely.
That was Raphael, and Mansell's target is 1:18.332.
Won't be done. Oh, the clock didn't stop, but he did, I think, it could be a 20, a low 20, it looked like to me.
Yeah, I think he just failed to... Yeah, oh. he has. Nigel Mansell is the first 3.5 litre engine driver to get under 1 minute 20 seconds today. He has done so with a time of 1 minute 19.5, which is the 3rd fastest time of the day, beaten only by Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, the only 2 people to beat him yesterday. So it is still now, and we are in the 49th minute of this 60-minute session. Alain Prost on pole, Senna in second position, Prost holding the 3rd pole position of the year as far as he's concerned. Mansell in 3rd place, Berger in the Ferrari in 4th place. In 5th position, it's the 2nd Williams of Patrese, then the Arrows Megatron of Derek Warwick. 7th is Nannini, who is out in the spare car, and in 8th position, Capelli. So 3.5 litre cars in 3rd, 5th, 7th and 8th places.
And Nigel is off it, so we are not going to see any more fireworks from him. He's now cruising, keeping his tyre temperatures down. He may well go into the pits on this lap, so we're not going to see any more excitement from him, I don't think, not in this lap at least. Coming to the end of this lap, in fact, you'll see a medical air supply, 19.5, position 3, 11 minutes left. He's continuing.
Meantime, back at the back, it is still Johansson failing to qualify. His teammate Arnoux failing to qualify. A sad day for Ligier. Ben Schneider is 29th and out, and Julian Bailey again sadly looks as though he's going to fail to qualify for the 10th time this season. One of his problems, of course, being that every circuit to him is a new circuit. That's Niki Lauda, 3 times world champion.
Nigel's on a fast lap. This could be very interesting because he's now had the confidence of the previous lap, plus the fact that look how he uses that curve. Nigel, I can't say that the engineers will approve of that, but I think he could really be on it because he's got a clear lap ahead of him. He doesn't seem to have any traffic there.
Nobody has got more sheer guts, grit and determination than Nigel Mansell, and not many of the drivers have got as much. He's really going for it now. I remind you that his target is 1 minute 18.3 to move up to the front row of the grid, to second place by displacing Ayrton Senna. He's down into Foster's hairpin for the last time. He sees the grid in front of him. De Cesaris is in the way, but he won't interfere with Mansell's time, and it's too slow anyway.
Yeah, he backed off. For some reason, he must have made a mild mistake because he backed off only in the last few hundred meters of that lap.
9 minutes to go, and yesterday, you may remember, those of you who were watching, it's in the last 5 or 10 minutes that the quick times can be put up, and Ayrton Senna is on the track. Now, Ayrton Senna knows that this is the last Grand Prix of the year. He knows that he has 12 pole positions behind him. He knows that his teammate Alain Prost is ahead of him, and he can see in front of him a slow car. He's got to get past that one.
I think it's Nigel Mansell. It is. Now, let's see if Nigel moves over from Senna. They're not friends at all. Yep, he waved him through. He let him through without any trouble at all. Senna's still on it. You know, they've had punch-ups, they've had disagreements, they've had a lot of trouble over the years, these two. They've run into each other on the track on more than one occasion. On that occasion, Nigel Mansell saw him in the mirror, pointed where he should pass, and there you see Senna accelerating out of racetrack hairpin, moving up in now to Victoria Raceway through the left-hander, using a bit of curb. Unhappy with that when he lost time there. Still quite quick.
I don't think quick enough.
No, 22.9 was the previous lap. 18.1 he's looking for, and it is an 18.7 nevertheless.
Yes, it was very quick by everybody's standards except Alain Prost, and that's the one that matters as far as Senna is concerned. So Senna failed to get pole. He might still do so. Find out when you rejoin us soon. Philippe Alliot in the Lola as you rejoin us, and he spins off. Philippe Alliot rejoins the circuit, hopefully, with a searing lap. 1 minute 18.140. He has displaced Alain Prost. Nigel Mansell is still in third position. There is Ayrton Senna. There's a change at the back as well, because both the Ligiers are now in, Arnoux and Johansson, and the people who are failing to qualify, as you see the grid there, Senna, Prost, Mansell, Piquet, Berger, Patrese, Warwick and Nannini, the first 8. The 4 who are failing to qualify are Tarquini, Bailey, Rapinel and Schneider. So, Ayrton Senna with a tremendous effort right in the closing minutes. Here he is, driving back to the pits. Now, the question is Alain Prost going to be content with second place on the grid, or is he going to make a terrific effort? He is not, because as I speak to you, Alain Prost is in pole again. What a fantastic ending to this last 60-minute qualifying session at Adelaide. Prost is back in pole position, 1 minute 17.8. Senna goes back to second, and Prost's time is the first in under 1 minute 18 seconds. It is only 0.6 of a second off Gerhard Berger's pole position time last year in the Ferrari, when he had 4-bar boost. What a terrific charge by Prost. And that is Eddie Cheever, Thierry Boutsen, Prost, there's the man. There is the professor, 34 times a Grand Prix winner, twice a world champion, never ever under any circumstances giving up, and he's showing Ayrton Senna that he, the Brazilian, may be world champion, but Prost intends to win tomorrow.
But Murray's using, watch the clock, because we'll keep you up to date. He's passed now up to the 52nd lap. He's down the main straight here, using all of the road on the right-hand side, going in smoothly. Getting the power on. He's got one car in front of him now. This is a quick lap. Is he going to get through? Yes, he is. 2 more corners to go.
Target 1 minute 17.8.
There he goes, accelerating away. I think he could do it. Let's look at it. No, he hasn't done it.
just 0.3 of a second after off his pole position time, but he's not slackening up. He's going for it again. Alain Prost tries to beat his own pole position time and really push Ayrton Senna down in the order.
The car jostling his head again viciously. Hardly any suspension. That there is Ayrton Senna's car that we're looking at. These cars are almost identical. Ayrton Senna.
We're into the last minute of practice. There are only 45 seconds left. I don't think Senna can do it, but he might if he can get round to the end of this lap. He could start on his final lap just before the checkered flag goes out.
He's on a fast one right now, as a matter of fact. Let's see how he can do in this. This is the hairpin, but he's got 2 cars in front of him. If he doesn't do it in this one, the chances of doing it in the next one, Jonathan Palmer's right in front of him.
He's done it! He's done it! 1:17.749, and that is 1/10 of a second inside Prost's pole time. Absolutely amazing! And now, I'm looking at the clock, it's 8 seconds to go, and Ayrton Senna is in pole position ahead of Alain Prost, and Prost is just coming through to finish a lap. Is this going to be a quick one?
No, this is not his quick one, I can tell you. This is not a fast Alain Prost lap.
18 Hornets. Now, Jackie, now you're talking about speed.
Yes, I've been up in aircraft similar to this, and I tell you, it gives you a buzz. Very high-speed stuff.
Fantastic stuff. All right, now we're going to go down to the pits. We've got Alan Jones, and he's talking with Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell, 3rd place, fastest normally aspirated car.
Delighted. I mean, I'm amongst the 4 quickest turbo cars, so I'm pleased.
Yeah, I think it was a really good effort. You really tried, I think, about 11/10 towards the end there.
12/10, I think, Alan. One of your laps.
No, well done. Congratulations. I think you might be looking good for tomorrow, you know, with that normally aspirated car.
Yeah, I hope so. The only problem we've got is straight line speed down the straight. As you can see, they're about 15 to 20 k's quicker down the straight, so we've got to take wing off for tomorrow for the race, but we're not going to be in bad shape.
Well, Nigel, all the very best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Nigel Mansell. He did very, very well. He put a bit of excitement into it, didn't he?
Yes, I think Nigel was the driver I would have chosen, in fact, for this race, as we did earlier, for a normally aspirated engine to go around this particular racetrack because of the tight turns, because of the way that Nigel drives cars. He's very good at Monte Carlo. He's been good in road courses before. So this is the type of track I would expect him to perform on, and his car obviously has gone very well.
What a ripper of a practice session, a qualifying session.
Yes, you're not going to see anything better than that. You know, in Australia here, you've seen some great races and you've seen some close racing, but to see a qualifying session like that going down to the last few seconds to be able to joust from one to the other fastest qualifying time. It's interesting, of course, it is Ayrton Senna's 13th pole position this year. It's also the 12th time that the McLaren team have been first and second on the front row of the grid this year. An amazing performance.
Boy, they love winning, all right. Okay, we go down to the pits once again, and we've got Barry Sheen talking with Thierry Boutsen.
Yeah, Thierry, you qualified in 10th position. Last time I looked, it was 9th. Are you pleased with that?
Not at all. I thought we could do better today, but I worked a lot on the race setup this morning, and it's not very fast for qualifying, so I think I've got a very good car for the race. Wasn't so good for qualifying, unfortunately.
Yeah, the big problem is you've got to get through the traffic for the race.
Yes, therefore, I think if you have a good setup here, it's going to be a very long race, and I have to wait. I mean, I think I have to take a very quiet start and then wait until half distance, and then try to go faster and faster. Then I think the car will be able to do that.
Yeah, and what do you think if the temperature's as high as it is today? It's going to be a very hard race, I think.
It's going to be a very hard race for most of the people because the cooling system on all the cars are very, very marginal, and we have no problem with that so far. So it should be all right for us, and I hope that we can go to the finish.
Okay, thank you, Thierry.
Okay, that was Barry Sheen with Thierry Boutsen. I was interested in your comment. You felt that Thierry had peaked as a driver.
Yes, I think...
You do it all the time. You leave it to the last minute and then you whack a real quick one in.
Well, if I could, I would have done it earlier, but conditions were very difficult with the track being stopped for accidents and a lot of traffic, and it's difficult to get a clear lap.
Well, it's excellent to see a world champion that hasn't relaxed on his laurels. You're still in there trying 100%.
Well, I think you know the feeling very well. Every time you sit in the car, doesn't matter what you are or what you have achieved before, you do your best and try as hard as you can. Otherwise, you better stay home.